Okay. So let's begin with the small introductions. We see have a good number of people. Let's spend few seconds so that we share, we get to know each other. Let's try to share our name, subjects, and hobbies. Let me begin with myself. My name is Jaswinder. I'm a design thinking coach, and I love to watch movies. And for the rest, I would propose let's go by the people's name appearing in the order of the here. So we can follow start with this. Amit, you can go first.
Yeah, hi, myself Amit Chadda. Actually, we are a group of writers from Lotus Veda School International School in Delhi. And my hobbies, I am a truly sports person. I am
Oh,
into
wow, great.
sports any time of the day. Yeah. So basically, I'm a sports person.
Yeah, thanks, Amit.
Yeah.
Sir, if you could spend and share something about you.
Yeah, you can read me as Vijay Chadda.
Okay.
I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, having served industry as a tool room specialist. We are now into education, and my hobbies are, traveling worldwide and learning new things every time.
Wow, great to have you, sir. Yeah. Next, Puneet, you can share.
Yeah, this is Puneet. I started Trailheads 2 years back. So some of you already know, and about the hobbies. I love learning new things. I play sports. I cycle a lot. I play with my kid. I learn new technologies, and I teach people across globe.
Good.
That's about me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Great.
Thanks, Puneet. Mega just joined. Mega, we are just starting. We are starting with the introductions. So if you could share something about you.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Megha Arora this side, and I'm a part of Lotus Veda group only, and I'm the academic head over there. So.
And what about your hobbies, Mega?
Share something about yourself. Yeah.
Some hobbies.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So my hobbies are listening to music and cooking, and apart from that, I love to be updated in the general sense of all the technically and educationally.
Okay, great. Good to have you here. Next, Akshat, can you please share?
Very good morning to everyone. So I am also a part of Lotus Veda only. My principal subject is science. I have a postgraduate in environmental sciences from Delhi University. Apart from that, I have a keen interest in history also. So apart from science, I'm also teaching social sciences and a bit of computers as well. That's all. And generally, my hobbies, in general, I love reading a lot of books, novels, even scientific books along with that. And yeah, that's very much about myself.
Okay, thanks, Akshat. Next, we have Miss Hardeep. Please share something about yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Hardeep from this side from Brilliance Convent School. There I'm working as a PRT, and teaching is my profession. So I'm fond of searching about different ways and means to teach the students about different topics and new concepts. And in general, if we talk, so I can say that I'm fond of cooking and listening music and gaining knowledge about different new topics. That's it.
Good, Hardeep. Thanks for joining. Okay, and next, Harsimran.
Hello everyone, my name is Harsimran Singh and currently I'm working with Puneet and Jaswinder in Trio Hats, and I'm a Masters of Computer Applications from IP University, and I'm with Trio Hats I'm working as a Python and machine learning consultant, but my work is divided into various hobbies, like various different subjects. Apart from that, my hobbies, I love to travel, but on my motorcycle, not any other, not on train or any other thing, but I love to travel on my motorcycle only.
Okay, so I think we have lots of travelers here, right? Good. The next, Muskan. Can you hear us?
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. So my name is Muskan. I'm a student I'll be a first year student as of this year, and I plan on pursuing economics and finance as my undergraduate degree. My hobbies include art because I've been pursuing it for the past 7 years properly.
Muskan, your voice is breaking in between. I think.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Is it clear now, sir?
Yeah, it's much better.
Right. So I wasn't audible. Should I repeat?
Yeah, if you can, that would be good.
Yeah, so I will be a first year student as of this year, and my hobbies include art mainly, as I've been pursuing it for 7 years now. And I also like to write, so I have a blog on WordPress. And besides that, I like to listen to different genres of music, mostly pop songs. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Muskan. I think next we have Shikha. Shikha, can you please share?
Yeah, good morning once again.
Good morning.
Well, Shikha, I fell into this field of running my own school. My family all present here, my dad, my inspiration, and my brother who is supporting me till date. Actually, this journey began when I was initially teaching in a primary school, and I was fascinated by the fact that children are very curious all the time. So schooling is more about having good teachers who can facilitate proper learning environments. So hence Lotus Veda was born with keeping in mind that children should feel like going to the schools for the learning sake. But when I was seeing the children very closely, they were not feeling like coming to school. So they were forcibly sent by all the parents.
Okay.
And gradually when the things progressed, and then I was all researching about how a child's brain works, I realized that they are the updated version and are being outdated every year. So I understood it very closely that the kindergarten, the basic level is to be taken care of. I mean, the foundation years of every child in the school is extremely important. And we should begin rather than, we have been hiring experienced staff for the senior classes. So I felt the need is at the foundation level. And hence Lotus Veda extended itself from preschool to primary and now till elementary level, and every year we are upgrading. And teachers also should be respected. So it is the school is all about the management's vision, the teachers and the children. And hence I am there with you people to learn more so that I can transfer it to my children.
Definitely. Thanks, Shikha, for joining.
My pleasure.
Okay, so thanks everyone for joining this webinar. I welcome you all again. So kindly send in your full name and email address in the chat window so that we can send certificates to you. Right? And just so during the webinar, please send in your full name and email address. I hope that is fine.
Yeah, so this is for certificate of participation. So yeah, that's what he's mentioning, that please send full name and your email addresses. Yeah, so yeah, let's start.
Okay. Okay, so I hope everybody is aware that on 30th of July 2020, new education policy was approved. I hope everybody must have read it. Yeah. It had introduced many structural level changes in school and higher education. So I want you to take a step back and understand the reasons why all this is happening. So last year in 2019, MHRD, they declared that they want NEP to be modified so that it enables India to become a top destination of education, and it was published in all the leading newspapers. Let me show you some news articles clipping so that it will help you to remember that. The first one talks about making board exam easier. This one talks about new guidelines to shift from testing rote learning to test higher order skills like critical thinking. This one talks about implementing project-based learning. So during the course of my last couple of years, I have been speaking to many students, parents. I myself is a parent. My son is in 12th class, and I spoke to teachers as well, and also did some research. So based on that, I have tried to list down few of these challenges of the current education system. So first, what I could gather is that the current curriculum is very heavy and outdated. It's predominantly focusing on bookish knowledge. It encourages theory-based learning or rote learning. Very less or no opportunities are given to try out new things to students. And the current pattern of education is that it's very, very highly exam oriented. Children learn to pass the exam, they go to school, they come back, they go to coaching classes, so that they are learning in a mechanical fashion to just clear the exams, to get 95%, 98% in the exams. But the missing piece is that they are not getting how to apply those skills to solve problems. There is too much emphasis is being given on the marks. And if somebody fails in the exams, he or she is perceived as failures. But I would like to say that what is the basic aim of education? Why do we want our children to study? What is the topmost reason? So I think that when the reason why we want our students or children to study is that they become educated person, they have good career, good job, or able to run a good business and earn enough money to live a happy life. But have you ever thought what could be the result and impact of these issues on students? Are they able to live happily? Are they being growing as an educated person? Are they able to take their own decisions in their life? So what could be the top 3 areas where these issues or challenges are hitting our children or hurting them? One of the most important skills which is not taught in any schools, or I haven't seen that, is how to fail. Yes. We expect our children to succeed every time and will go on any length to teach them, coach them how to succeed and spend even lakhs of rupees on the coaching. But there isn't a single course in my knowledge which tells you learn how to fail and come out of it. In traditional thinking, failure is an anomaly, it's an exception, and students who fail are treated like outcasts. And because of this missing skill, students are not able to handle failures. And here is the outcome. What they do, they commit suicide. It's horrible. And what is the reason? Students are made to believe that marks are everything, as everybody around them, their peers, parents, society, perceive marks are the benchmark of success and failure. If somebody fails in an exam, then he or she is harassed mentally and socially. Parents boast about their children's marks in their social gatherings, which creates so much pressure on peer parents who then go back and create more pressure on their kids. So what happens? Children are afraid of being failed. This fear of failing causes so much stress that it forces them to take this drastic step because they don't know what else to do, where to go, and suicide seems the shortest way to end the harassment they face at the hands of society. And let me tell you, as educators, we are not educating our students enough on this very important scale. So this is the summary of that. 28 student lives are lost every day, which means one student commits suicides every 55 minutes. 10,000 students suicides in 2018, which was highest in 3 years. And if you see, they are also proposing here on the right side. There are many options. Life skills should be integrated in students from young age. Fear of failure should be done away with it. So there are many reasons. Other impact. Students don't know how to apply skills, which results in decrease in employability. As per the survey done by Aspiring Mind is a skill assessment firm. It says that 80% of the engineers India produces are not employable. And this employability has not improved in last 7 years. And the reason for the unemployment is that when students pass out from school or colleges, their prime focus is to just to clear the exams. The curriculum teaching approach followed is to make students clear the exam. So when they join any organization or giving interviews, they struggle because every organization wants to have employees who have the aptitude for solving problems and not just bookish knowledge. People with bookish knowledge find it very difficult to get a job, and even when they got one, they have to struggle a lot to continue remain employable in the industry. And unemployment again is a factor which led again to suicides. Students might leave India for better learning opportunity as well. You see, this is a trend nowadays. Many students are going for, mostly Canada or other countries where they see better learning opportunities. For the next impact, I would like to quote Sir Ken Robinson. So this is Sir Ken Robinson. He is an educationalist, New York Times best-selling author, and also known as one of the world's elite thinkers on creativity and innovation. He delivered a TED Talk on June 2006, which says that, do schools kill creativity? And it has been, till date, one of the most watched TED Talks. It has around 65 million views. And he said that it's a very shocking and a very bold statement. He says that people are being educated out of their creativity. Yes, you heard me correct. People are being educated out of their creativity. And I believe you, this TED Talk is very transforming. If you haven't heard it, please spend some time whenever you have it to hear him. He has great thoughts and great ideas. And he explained what is the reason of that. He says that children are not frightened of being wrong when they are born. Yeah, we know that. Slowly, when they grow, we teach them what to do and what not to do. When they join school, we usually tell them to follow what everyone else is doing, rather try something new, as there is so much pressure to complete the syllabus and get good marks. And if they try something new, and if it went south, we tell them, I told you, it won't work. Yes, मैंने कहा था. So gradually, what we do, we start stigmatizing their mistakes. And because of the pressure of completing syllabus and getting good marks, that the spirit to try something new or zeal to figure out some innovative ways is kept aside or pushed down the alley, and scoring good marks takes the front seat. So what is the outcome? Outcome is that by the time they become adults, they have become frightened of being wrong. But in this process, we forget very important thing. So if you are not prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything original. Yes, it's true. So till now, I have been talking about the problems, and now let's talk about what are the solutions or options we have. So NEP has been modified and approved, and it has introduced many changes. NCERT books will be undergoing major changes in line with the NEP. CBSE is also coming up with new guidelines as per NEP. And to begin with, CBSE has introduced new subjects in alignment with the NEP. And I really appreciate the effort by CBSE to introduce these new subjects like AI, design thinking, physical activity trainer, even in the times of this pandemic, because they know these are the in-demand skills and really will help students. But now, all of us who are working in education sector have a major role to play. We need to understand the why behind these changes, and then only we would be able to adopt these with full heart and mind. This is our chance to enable our students with the right kind of knowledge and skills, which will help them to sustain, in this real world. This real world is very brutal, let me tell you. I hope you know also, you have seen that. So let's take a pause now. Please let me know in case something is not clear or you have any questions, suggestions to share. Or else, shall I move ahead? Any thought, anything you want to share?
I think you may proceed. Everything
okay.
clear.
Okay, fine. Okay, so what is design thinking? So I'm just reading out this definition. I'm not sure if you have read it earlier. So design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge their assumptions, redefine the problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. Or design thinking is a mindset which provides a structured approach to understand user and then generate innovative and practical solutions for the real world problems. Frankly speaking, now when I read this a couple of years ago, it went over my head. So I'm not relying on these two that you will be able to understand that. So let me share with an example with you and explain what is design thinking. So what do you see in this picture? This is from a true incident in US many years ago. What happened was a truck was going on a state highway in US. It got stuck while trying to drive under a low overbridge. So what happened next? As usual, it resulted in a huge jam on the road as truck got stuck and traffic could not move smoothly. So gradually, like it happens in India as well, the queue of vehicle grew and it went for few kilometers. So meanwhile, all the emergency personnel like firefighters, civil engineers, traffic policemen, and even truck drivers who were standing there, so they came down and they were debating on negotiating various techniques to dislodge the truck. Someone said to dismantle part of the truck, and few said to chip away the lower portion of the bridge. But nobody agreed on either. So what do you think should be done in this situation? The boy who was walking by and he was witnessing the intense debate said in a very casual manner, "Why not just let the air out of tires and move the truck?" He said, "Why not just let the air out of tires and move the truck?" Everybody agreed to it. It was tested and truck was able to move. So did you notice here? When everyone was focused on the upper portion of the truck and lower portion of the bridge, they could not find the solution. The boy challenged that assumption that solution can be found somewhere else. He redefined the problem and started thinking about how to move the truck, and he figured out an approach. So basically, design thinking provides a structured approach to understand users and then generate innovative and practical solutions for the real world problems. There are 5 phases of design thinking, which are namely as empathize. Here we try to understand the problem from user perspective. In the define phase, we try to redefine the problem in our view, what we see the problem, how it can be fixed. In the ideate phase, we try to come up with solutions, we brainstorm. In prototype, we create small prototype or a solution that can be tested very quickly. And in the test phase, we go on and test the prototype, and if there are any shortcomings, we go back and we improve the idea. So this cycle is repeated till we have a good solution working in the end. So now let's try to understand how design thinking enables the students. So design thinking provides tools and techniques to develop critical thinking and problem solving. So DT, which is short for design thinking, it consists of 5 phases, and for each phase, there are specific tools and techniques which will enable you to build problem solving mindset and analyze things from different perspectives. It helps students in developing creative and innovative mindset. So by following DT approach, to try to figure out creative and innovative solutions to your problems. There are specific techniques which will guide you how you can find the creative answer. I like this one very much. It enables growth with I can mindset. Let me help you understand. So as and when students start finding solutions and slowly and gradually see their solutions fixing problems, their self-confidence increases. They start believing in their capabilities and their self-belief, which once said they can't do it, it's very difficult, मेरे से नहीं होगा, मैं नहीं कर सकता. Now gradually shift to I can, and this is the turning point. It might take some time, but with proper guidance and mentoring from the teachers, mentors, this can definitely be achieved. The next one is it enhances collaborative skills. So while working on all the projects in DT, students have to work in a team. They have to rely on each other. Together, they find answers to questions at hand. Together, they brainstorm, they discuss to find innovative solutions. All of these are great team building exercises, and everyone learns by collaborating as a team. The next one is empathize learning through application of concepts by working on projects. Yes, it's totally based on project-based learning. Here, learning is by building solutions, working on projects. No theory or written exam in the end. Every project has a specific goal towards which student has to move forward. They talk to different people, redefine problems, try out different solutions with only one single aim. The solution should be able to solve the problem. So in case, if in the first iteration, the solution is not working, go back to the drawing board and then fine tune it and come back with a new solution. And the last one, but not the least, it develops the ability to embrace failures and how to learn from them. For every project, solution is shared or presented to the end user to get the feedback on what went well and what could be improved. When users don't like the end projects or it fails to meet the initial requirement, then it isn't deemed as failure, but as a normal step here, which will lead to the final solution in the next iteration or the next one. By going through this cycle over and over again, they realize that failing is inherent, and it teaches us very important lesson that this might not be the correct way to solve it, to try something else. So gradually students start taking these failures as small obstacles and try to find alternative routes to go over them. Rather, perceive them as Great Wall of China, which can't be climbed. So till now, I have just shared some theory with you that these are the benefits. But do we have any data to prove our point? Let me show you a graph which proves the value of design thinking. I hope you know what is S&P 500. It's a simply a stock market index which measures the stock performance of 500 large companies listed on stock exchange in US. It is one of the most commonly followed equity index, which many consider as one of the best representation of US stock market. So this graph shows the positive impact made by design thinking within organization. So in a study which was conducted by this Design Management Institute, it says that the design-led companies in US outperform the top 500 companies of S&P by 200%. You see, this is the graph for S&P 500 companies, and this is the graph for the companies who use design thinking approach. This is the difference of margin here. And basically you see the companies listed here, such as Apple, Starbucks, Nike, which are being compared to other companies. So design thinking has played a very pivotal role in these companies to keep them ahead of their competition by creating innovative products, services in their respective verticals. And hence, they were able to remain ahead as the market leader. So, and Okay, this was the graph. And what other experts or the SMEs are saying about DT and why they say it should be taught. I hope everyone knows Forbes by name. So in January 8, 2019, they have called out design thinking as the next revolution in education. You can see and you can check on the net as well. And next, I share you another example. Is another very renowned best-selling author, Bernard Marr. He's a futuristic and strategic business and technology advisor, and he has written numerous articles on innovations and what the coming trends. He wrote a very interesting article on this topic. What are the 8 things every school must do to prepare for the 4th industrial revolution? I believe you are aware that currently this revolution of AI, machine learning is going on. So he clearly lists that here, that design thinking is one of the critical skills to survive this industrial revolution. Before we move on to the success stories, is there any question we have? Anything we want to discuss? Shika, Amit, sir. Or shall we move ahead?
I think people are on mute. You can unmute them.
No, I haven't unmuted anybody. I think they have. Is it okay? Shall we move ahead? Amit, Shika?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, we can go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You can proceed further.
One second. So before I begin this 2-minute video, this is by David Kelly. So David Kelly is the founder of global design and innovation company called IDEO. And Kelly also founded the Stanford University's Hasso-Plattner Institute, which is shortly known as HPI, or very renownedly known as the D School. So here David is sharing an experience about a person who designed MRI machine. And so I think many of you have seen the MRI machines or MRI being conducted. So these are very wonderful machines which tells so much about our bodies without any surgery or cutting and insertions. Just let me know in case you're not able to hear the audio I'm playing.
Do today is take you through and show you what this journey looks like. To me,
can you hear the audio?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
That journey looks like Doug Dietz.
The moment you feel this is not worth listening, please skip the video, because I strongly believe in this in public speaking, that if the audience...
Doug Dietz is a technical person. He designs medical imaging equipment, large medical imaging equipment. He's worked for GE and he's had a fantastic career, but at one point he had a moment of crisis. He was in the hospital looking at one of his MRI machines in use when he saw a young family, this little girl, and that little girl was crying and was terrified. And Doug was really disappointed to learn that nearly 80% of the pediatric patients in this hospital had to be sedated in order to deal with this MRI machine. Right? And this was really disappointing to Doug because before this time he was proud of what he did. You know, he was saving lives with this machine. But it really hurt him to see the fear that this machine caused in kids. About that time, he was at the D School at Stanford taking classes. He was learning about our process, about design thinking, about empathy, about iterative prototyping. And he would take this new knowledge and do something quite extraordinary. He would redesign the entire experience of being scanned. And this is what he came up with. He turned it into an adventure for the kids. He painted the walls and he painted the machine and he got the operators retrained by people who know kids, like, children's museum people. And now, so when the kid comes, it's an experience. And they talk to them about the noise and the movement of the ship. And when they come, they say, okay, you're going to go into the pirate ship, but be very still because we don't want the pirates to find you. Right? And the results were super dramatic. Right? So from something like 80% of the kids needing to be sedated to something like 10% of the kids needing to be sedated. And the hospital and GE were happy too because you didn't have to call the anesthesiologist all the time, they could put more kids through the machine in a day. So the quantitative results were great. But Doug's results that he cared about were much more qualitative. He was with one of the mothers waiting for her child to come out of the scan, and when the little girl came out of her scan, she ran up to her mother and said, "Mommy, can we come back tomorrow?" Right? And so
okay, so you heard this, right? So that was the most powerful statement with the person here. The child saying for an MRI machine, can we come back tomorrow? Can we imagine that? I have been through MRI a couple of times myself. I still, fear it. But and the kid saying that, that's a very great statement. That's the great product. Now, I will share another success story from our own backyard. Yes, from India. It's by a school which is run in Ahmedabad, the Riverside School. It was founded by Kiranbir Sethi, who is a designer who graduated from NID Ahmedabad in '89, and he founded this Riverside School, which is based on design principles and which is now viewed as a laboratory to prototype design process that enables transformative student learning experience. This school is a testimony of what design principle based learning can achieve. She was invited to TED Talks to share her experience. Let's watch that.
Contagious is a good word. Even in the times of H1N1, I like the word. Laughter is contagious. Passion is contagious. Inspiration is contagious. We've heard some remarkable stories from some remarkable speakers. But for me, what was contagious about all of them was that they were infected by something I call the I can bug. So the question is, why only them? In a country of 1 billion people and some, why so few? Is it luck? Is it chance? Can we all not systematically and consciously get infected? So in the next 8 minutes, I would like to share with you my story. I got infected when I was 17, when as a student of the design college, I encountered adults who actually believed in my ideas, challenged me, and had lots of cups of chai with me. And I was struck by just how wonderful it felt and how contagious that feeling was. I also realized I should have got infected when I was 7. So when I started Riverside School 10 years ago, it became a lab to prototype and refine a design process that could consciously infect the mind with the I can bug. And I uncovered that if learning is embedded in real-world context, that is, if you blur the boundaries between school and life, then children go through a journey of aware, where they can see the change, enable, be changed, and then empower, lead the change. And that directly increased student well-being. Children became more competent and less helpless. But this is all common sense. So I'd like to show you a little glimpse of what common practice looks like at Riverside. A little background. When my grade 5 was learning about child rights, they were made to roll incense sticks, agarbattis, for 8 hours to experience what it means to be a child laborer. It transformed them. What you will see is their journey and then their utter conviction that they could go out and change the world. So that's them rolling. And in 2 hours, after their backs broke, they were changed. And once that happened, they were out in the city, convincing everybody that child labor just had to be abolished. And look at Raghav, that moment when his face changes because he's been able to understand that he has shifted that man's mindset. And that can't happen in a classroom. So So when Raghav experienced that, he went from teacher told me to I am doing it. And that's the I can mind shift. And it is a process that can be energized and nurtured. But we had parents who said, okay, making our children good human beings is all very well, but what about math and science and English? Show us the grades. And we did. The data was conclusive. When children are empowered, not only do they do good, they do well. In fact, very well. As you can see in this national benchmarking assessment taken by over 2,000 schools in India, Riverside children were outperforming the top 10 schools in India in math, English, and science. So it worked. It was now time to take it outside Riverside. So on August 15th, Independence Day 2007, the children of Riverside set out to infect Ahmedabad. Now it was not about Riverside School. It was about all children. So we were shameless. We walked into the offices of the municipal corporation, the police, the press, businesses, and basically said, when are you going to wake up and recognize the potential that resides in every child? When will you include the child in the city? Basically, open your hearts and your minds to the child. So how did the city respond? Since 2007, every other month, the city closes down the busiest streets for traffic and converts it into a playground for children and childhood. Here was the city telling its child, you can. A glimpse of infection in Ahmedabad. So, the busiest streets closed down. We had the traffic police and municipal corporation helping us, and gets taken over by children. They are skating, they are doing street plays, they are playing, all free for all children.
Approach is an organization which has been doing things for kids earlier, and we plan to extend this to other parts of the city.
And the citizens give free time. And Ahmedabad got the first child-friendly zebra crossing in the world.
When a city gives to the children, in the future the children will give back to the city.
And because of that, Ahmedabad is known as India's first child-friendly city. So you're getting the pattern. First 200 children at Riverside, then 30,000 children in Ahmedabad and growing. It was time now to infect India. So on August 15th, again, Independence Day, 2009, empowered with the same process, we empowered 100,000 children to say, I can. How? We designed a simple toolkit, converted into 8 languages, and reached 32,000 schools. We basically gave children a very simple challenge. We said, take one idea, anything that bothers you, choose 1 week, and change 1 billion lives. And they did. Stories of change poured in from all over India. From Nagaland in the east to Jhunjhunu in the west. From Sikkim in the north to Krishnagiri in the south. Children were designing solutions for a diverse range of problems, right from loneliness to filling potholes on the street to alcoholism, and 32 children who stopped 16 child marriages in Rajasthan. I mean, it was incredible. Basically, again, reaffirming that when adults believe in children and say, you can, then they will. Infection in India. This is in Rajasthan, a rural village.
उनको सहन आते नहीं सर वो घुंटे टिकवाते हैं इसलिए सर उनको सहन करना सिखा दो.
First time, a rally and a street play in a rural school, unheard of, to tell their parents why literacy is important. And look at what their parents said.
ये प्रोग्राम होने लगे तो हमारे लिए बहुत अच्छा लगे. हमारे बच्चों ने पढ़ते तो कहाँ हमने सिखाते.
मेरे को सर बहुत अच्छा लगा कि मेरे स्कूल के बच्चों ने ये किया. आगे से मैं ऐसा कठिन महसूस नहीं करूंगी मेरे से नहीं होगा, मेरे बच्चों से नहीं होगा. मेरे को तुरंत ये रहेगा क्योंकि मेरे बच्चों ने करके दिखाया है.
An inner city school in Hyderabad.
581 यहाँ पर है ना 581A 55 से स्टार्ट करें ना अपन.
Girls and boys in Hyderabad going on. Pretty difficult, but they did it.
मेरे को बहुत ये खुशी हुई कि इतने छोटे छोटे एज के लड़के इतना अच्छा करे. आज ये सोसाइटी क्लीन कर रहे हैं हम लोग, कल अपना हैदराबाद चेंज कर.
Hyderabad change hoga, परसों अपना India change होगा.
It was a revelation for me. It doesn't strike me that they had so much insight there.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for an auction. We have some wonderful paintings for you, for a very good cause. The money you give us will be used to buy hearing aids. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Are you ready? Are you ready?
So the Charter of Compassion stands right here. Street plays, auctions, petitions. I mean, they were changing lives. It was incredible. So how can we still stay immune? How can we stay immune to that passion, that energy, that excitement? I know it's obvious, but I have to end with the most powerful symbol of change, Gandhiji. 70 years ago, it took one man to infect an entire nation with the power of we can. So today, who is it going to take to spread the infection from 100,000 children to the 200 million children in India? Last I heard, the preamble still said, we the people of India, right? So if not us, then who? If not now, then when? Like I said, contagious is a good word. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe you have seen that. So here we come at the Q&A sessions. If you have any questions, thoughts. Anything you want to share? Amit, Shikha, sir. Okay, so then let me conclude that. So that's it for today. So design thinking is a wonderful approach. We need to spread awareness about it. So how it can transform our students for their betterment. We need to join hand with CBSE initiatives so that it reaches out to maximum students. I believe, have you shared your emails and full name?
Yes, sir.
Not yet.
Okay.
I think you have mine, or I should share once more.
Yeah, Amit's is there, Shikha's is there.
Right. I think for Megha and Hardeep, Akshat, can you please share your name and email ID?
So, Jassi, could you please share a few of the thoughts about how being teachers, learning the skills of design thinking can help them become better at teaching?
Okay. So, Puneet, yes, a very good question. So, how it will help teachers to connect with students?
Maybe you can take the phases of design thinking and walk them through whatever works for you. Yeah.
Yeah. One second.
What about, like in today's world, everyone is shifting to this practical learning. So it is somewhat a part of this design thinking also.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. So he
Teaching
can.
children.
Yes. True. Definitely. So Jassi, just talk about this also then.
Okay. So basically, these are the 5 phases of design thinking. The first one is empathizing. So empathizing, it's in the true sense is to understand or to see problems from user perspective. So there are specific tools and tricks framework that is being shared to understand user. But what happens here is that when teachers and students collaborate to understand that, so they make a connection. Teachers also realize that what's happening in the child's mind, what he or she is thinking, and then when he is able to understand that, because if there's a time allocated for such activity, because everything takes time. So where there is a dedicated time to go through, solve this, use DT as solving problems. The time would be allocated. So this tool or this phase will enable the teacher to make that connect. And eventually the teacher, while telling students how to understand other user problem, teacher would be able to understand students problem or their nature or their behavior in more depth. And because design thinking basically works where every project is given to a team, right? We have a group of 4 to 10 people who are working on a project. So when they work together, when they brainstorm together, and when they come back with questions to the teachers, and teachers help them to understand that, so they are building a great team. In that spirit, the teacher and the group of students, they are part of the same team. And when they go on repeating such exercises one after another, which are basically project based learning, and there is no written exam, no failure, right? So slowly and slowly they make a very great bond. They build great teams that will help students to come out of their inhibitions, other dormant behaviors which they normally can't go away. So that is the thing.
See, I think most of the schools are changing at these times from the orthodox teaching to this new practical teaching, but they are not able to implement. I don't know, teachers are not serious or what. I want to share about my child. He's in Pathways. So they are following the same thing.
Okay.
They make groups of 4 or 5 children, and they give this topic, any topic, and they tell them to work on it by searching Google or go out to a society or anything. So they combinedly gather some thoughts and have discussion on the different problems of the society. There are n number of topics to talk to.
Okay.
It is already prevailing in schools, but the point is how seriously it depends on the vision of the management, how seriously they are following. Everybody wants, they say yes, we want this is the need of the hour, but they are not able to implement in the school. Maybe shortage of time or the quantity of students. I don't know what is the problem, but yes, everyone wants this change.
Yeah, and Amit, you rightly said, it can't be just driven by the teachers who are executing on the ground. It has to be from the top. The management has to align to this framework. As you see this thing. So design thinking is a mindset. It can't overchange, the things overnightly in a month or few months. It is a process. You have to start adopting the process, understand why behind it, and then slowly you gradually pass it on to your peers, your person working with you, and slowly it takes time. It's not basically just a button which you press and things will change. It's a mindset. You need to change the mindset. You rightly said, in the traditional world of learning, they expect everything to change, or just teacher do it, but it should be from the top.
Yeah, that is the point.
Correct. So time is one constraint. So the beauty of design thinking is that it can be implemented at all levels, not only at school levels, at corporate level, at industry level, and that is what organizations who are creating products, they are looking at design thinking. So they have seen the requirement of that, the urgency of that, because that takes away from theoretical way of learning to practical way of learning. So time is one constraint. So then once you get a buy-in, yes, buy-in from the management, buy-in from the parents also. Sometimes as parents also, we don't buy the idea because we think, what is that big thing they are learning? Going to zoo and learning about elephant. So they can as well look at TV and then learn about elephant. Why they have to travel to that? But then that experiential learning is different. So, and then connecting with the learning benefits which are going to come out. not today as well as in future. So if that is what these awareness are about. What we are doing, we are having webinars, and then we are talking to multiple teachers. We are going to go to multiple schools. We'll come to your school also. Jassi is there in Delhi, so you let us know. We can collaborate. We will talk after this webinar also. So we'll do that definitely.
Puneet, Puneet, I want to say something.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to be little costlier for the parents, to implement this idea, because we might have to create certain environments and laboratories for children to kind of implement their ideas. What tools are we using to convince the parents, so that sometimes in a bigger school where there are so many parents, maybe 50% will buy this idea and 50% will not go, but the school has to go uniformly for all the students, for all the parents. So how do we crack this problem?
So you want to add here then?
Yeah. So basically, the best thing is the success stories, the outcomes, the impact that they have created. So I can share with you. So there are more success stories that we have. So these are the best, benchmark of how well it is being doing. So that is the only thing which can, that is the thing which can convince parents most easily and quickly. So when they see the outcome of the result, outcome of the process, when children go through design thinking or the people have been doing, so what is the outcome? What is the end result? So that transformation is something which that clicks. It gives a basically turn on something in everybody's mind. So that is what I could think of right now, but I will still again think over it. What else can be used to make?
होता क्या है कि अगर CBSE ने syllabus impose कर दिया, तो parents are compelled to follow that syllabus, and they are ready to spend any amount of time to complete that syllabus. If somehow this design thinking can be incorporated in the syllabus itself, then it will be easy. Otherwise, parents are very hard to crack. वो कहेंगे ठीक है जी, सक्सेस स्टोरी देख ली है, होते हैं कुछ लोग एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में और या एंटरप्राइजिंग, हमारा बच्चा तो ऐसा नहीं है, वो तो डल है. We need to have something very effective for the parents, because at the end management can only succeed when parents come in hand with the management.
And to answer that, sir, I hope I'm not sure whether you know that, but CBSE has introduced design thinking in the curriculum as the optional subject in 11th from this session only.
Okay.
So they have introduced design thinking as the skill subject from class 6 to 8, and from 11th onwards it's an additional subject. So students can choose DT as one of the optional subjects in 11th. They have done that.
So that is workable. Even if it is optional, that is workable.
Yeah. But what I could know is that then school, I think, need to register on CBSE board to apply so that they can start teaching this design thinking in their curriculum. It's a very minimal fee of, I think, 2,000 or 2.5 K, so that school come and register themselves that they are teaching design thinking. So it's already part of the CBSE now.
Yeah. Good. And yes, these are the practical challenges. So it is difficult to reach to solutions of the challenges over webinars. And then we all can think through, sit together, and then identify whether we should do a pilot or whether we should launch it as a supplementary. All that we can work on. And then what I believe is that we don't have standard answers to these. So these are experimental. So we'll try out when we brainstorm, we sit together, we'll think, okay, fine, this is one approach we can take. We can create a pilot, or we can do, or we can run through a webinar for parents alone. Could be a number of things we can think of, and then experiment with those things and see which one is working, and whichever is working, we can go ahead with that.
Yeah, that's required.
Yeah.
Chalo, Puneet, I think I need to leave.
Yes. I think we wind up. So we will connect again after the webinar. I'll talk to Amit. I'll talk to Shikha. I'll talk to Uncle also, and others also. And then let's see how we can work together. And
we'll surely discuss. We surely discuss later.
Yes.
Thanks, Jaswinder. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, everybody. Bye.